So hello and welcome to everyone who may be joining after this live session has been recorded. We're going to get started at about 3:05, so that's in around 15 minutes from now. So if you're watching this session later on, the recording, you can probably skip ahead to about 15 minutes when we'll get started with the reading. Until then, I'll be lighting some candles, lighting incense, and kind of paying respect to the Buddha as people begin to join in for our live stream. So welcome, and I hope you are able to participate and enjoy this practice of meditation. All right, so hello. Very warm welcome to everyone joining this London afternoon. I hope you all are doing quite well. Anyone who is here, who is joining, if you'd like to say hello in the live chat, that's a nice way to see that we are, participating in this practice together, live. And this is, of course, the YouTube Live is an extension of our Discord, where we are able to have more intimate meetings, but for now, having this live session through YouTube, very accessible to all members of our community. Good afternoon to Isaac. Hi there to Ola and Chesh. Evelyn, Patrick, Fung joining us. Grant, Moir, Sarah Mind, Princeton, Scotch joining for the first time. Okay. You're very welcome. Glad to have you here. Cheese also joining. Hi there, Cheese. So we'll take about another 5 minutes to just get settled into this space, into this contemplative practice. Maybe for some of us that means getting a cup of tea, or perhaps that means adjusting your posture or moving into another position to sit in. Just getting comfortable and settling in for some contemplative practice together in community, some wholesome activity. Today, we will be looking at a teaching that is from a Buddhist master, we can say a Zen or a Chan master, Sheng Yen, coming from Taiwan. And this will be a teaching on generosity and the beginning of a series of teachings on the Paramitas. So generosity and wisdom, we will take a dive into Buddhist wisdom. And after allowing those teachings to seep in to our body and mind, we will do some mindfulness meditation together, followed by metta practice. So our whole session here together should be, well, I'm not sure. I imagine around an hour or less. It should be somewhat in that time frame. And we will begin in just a few minutes, a few moments. And as we listen to these teachings on generosity and Buddhist wisdom, the approach of deep listening is really at the heart of working with these kinds of teachings. So breathing and opening ourselves up to really listen, not so much trying to figure out or understand, but just listening deeply and allowing these teachings to connect with us. So just another minute or two. Make sure that everyone who wants to be here is given the time and space to be here, to join us live. Hey there, funky boy. Welcome. So let's have a bit of silence and mindful breathing before we get started with our reading. As we hear the sound of the bell, allowing that to invite us into the present, into deep listening. So, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started now with our reading. Subject of generosity and wisdom. The truth is that when you seek to benefit only yourself, what you can reap is limited. Your own rewards will be greatest when you strive to benefit others. As a simple example, if you seize all the wealth in your own family, from brothers, sisters, parents, spouses, or children, how will you survive in that household? Conversely, if you are careful and considerate of your family members, they will be appreciative and reciprocate. Your family will become very happy and harmonious. Therefore, Buddhism espouses benefiting others as the first step on your path to liberation. The Six Paramitas, or ways of wisdom, are precisely the means to do this. What then are the Six Paramitas? They are generosity, dana, morality, sila, patience, ksanti, diligence, virya, meditation, dhyana, and wisdom, prajna. So these six paramitas of generosity, morality, patience, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. And we'll be focusing today on generosity. Their purpose is to eradicate the two types of self-attachment, to sever the two types of death, and to transcend the ocean of suffering. What are the two types of self-attachment? First is attachment to one's own body, the extension of which is our concept of lifespan. So our concept of, we will be alive for a certain amount of time. The five skandhas, the material and mental factors that together lead to our sense of self, are the fundamental source of our vexations and afflictions. To break away from this self through practicing the six paramitas is to give rise to wisdom that will sever the attachment to one's physical body. Eradicating this kind of self-attachment means transcending our illusions about the world. And now, this attachment that we're talking about here is a kind of constriction. It's not taking care of our body. It's not being aware that we have a body and caring for it, right? It's not that our body is important to us, but rather it's this sense of contraction. My body, my feeling, my thinking. So to break away from this self-contraction that leads to this ocean of suffering, we practice the 6 Paramitas. We practice intentionally generosity, morality, patience, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. Through practicing these Paramitas, we give rise to wisdom that will naturally sever the attachment to one's physical body. Eradicating this kind of self-attachment means transcending our illusions about the world. The second type of self-attachment is aversion to the afflictions and suffering of worldly existence. Eradicating this type of self-attachment means transcending our aversion to the phenomenal world and no longer fearing the cycle of birth and death. So no longer fearing that this certain experience will happen. Transcending our fear, our worry, our anxiety. No longer fearing change. The two types of self-attachment. Attachment to our body and attachment to aversion. We don't want things to be a certain kind of way. But what are the two types of death? First is the physical death that ordinary people experience as they migrate through samsara, the cycle of birth and death. The second type of death consists of the stages of transformation on the bodhisattva path. A bodhisattva is someone who puts off their own well-being, their own enlightenment, so to speak, in the hopes with the intention of benefiting others, with taking care of others. So bodhisattvas experience samsara, they experience the world of birth and death, but their death is not the ordinary physical death mentioned above. It is rather the death of progressively subtler layers of attachment that are shed as we progress through the transformation of our experience through merit and virtue. So rather than this rigid physical idea of death, death in terms of letting go of layers of self-attachment, layers of self-clinging. I am like this, you are like this, I want that, I don't want that. As we are progressively letting go those layers of attachments through our own merit, our own virtue, our ethical conduct and moral living, we progress to attain the body of reality, attain deeper understanding of the nature of things, the nature of reality. The practice of generosity can be traced to the early teachings of the Nikayas, so the early Buddhist teachings, and to the later teachings in a variety of sutras which elaborate on this practice. Among the paramitas, generosity can be the easiest to fulfill. One can reap immediate benefits from it. Generosity can be practiced in two modes, with characteristics and without characteristics. So generosity or dana as this moral activity that leads to a letting go of our self-contraction, our layers of attachment. So we practice generosity with characteristics when we have a motive for performing a generous deed. For example, we can give as a form of repayment for something received. We may feel indebted even though the giver does not expect anything in return. We may even do charitable work or make donations in the name of that person. We may then say that we have fulfilled our indebtedness. This kind of giving is good and may be counted as generosity. So this generosity with characteristics, maybe we are paying a debt, or we are taking care of something with a certain outcome in mind, or we're doing this for a certain kind of material reason. So a good deed with a motive. Generosity as a good deed with a motive. Generosity with characteristics and intention is giving with the intention of being recognized, being reciprocated, or earning spiritual merit. While these types of generosity are a little self-serving, like investments, they are still good and better than not giving anything. Then there are people who are miserly, who are a swath or awash in misery, yet expect others to be generous to them. This is like constantly paying for things with your credit card. Somewhere down the line, the account must be repaid with interest. The paramitas are antidotes for mental afflictions, and the cure for greed and miserliness is generosity. Miserly people may feel that they benefit themselves when they get the upper hand, but in reality they are harming themselves. Their strong possessiveness prevents them from receiving the rewards of helping others. So this practice of generosity, even if we practice generosity because we want to be appreciated or seen, or we want to get benefits in our future life or in the next day or the next week or the next year, even if we're doing that, that's good because we are being generous, and that's better than not giving at all. So this practice of generosity is a practical application where we are gearing the mind, working with the mind, so that we learn to be generous with ourselves, take care of ourselves, and also the world. So it's a material action, and it might even be done with an interest in having a material benefit, but that habit of mind, that practice of generosity that we're doing materially is, in many senses, engendering our mind towards generosity, which is going to help us let go of that self-affliction, that contraction, especially greediness and miserliness. I should look up this word to make sure it means what I think it means. Miserly, a characteristic of a miser. What is a miser? A person who hoards wealth and spends as little money as possible. So a person who hoards wealth and spends as little money as possible. If you're someone who's like that, be generous. While this may sound strange, the poor should practice giving as a way of freeing themselves from poverty. What can a poor person give? How can his condition be improved by giving things away? But even poor people can benefit others by working. Very diligently. Through diligence, they will acquire what they do not have, and they will gain what they lack. In the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra, which is a traditional Buddhist sutra, Nagarjuna Bodhisattva, which is an embodiment or we can say a saint in Buddhism, uses the analogy of a thirsty person who, being wrapped up in self-concern, does not know how to find water. Someone with a strong intention to bring water to those around him or them will very diligently look for water. Because of this altruistic intention, they will tend to find more water than someone concerned only with their own thirst. Similarly, the poor are more likely to find wealth if they work diligently to benefit others. The Taoist sage Lao Tzu said that one can gain the most by giving everything to others. And I agree. This practice of ultimate generosity can totally transform our lives. Many times it's all those things that we have, that we want to keep, that we're trying to protect, that we feel give us pleasure or make us happy. Sometimes it's those things that we're holding on to so tightly that are causing us suffering, causing us stress. So perhaps one can gain the most by giving everything to others. So we went over giving with characteristics, giving with intention, giving with expectation. But how about this practice of giving without characteristics? Giving without characteristics means giving freely, without self-oriented motivation. It includes the gift of wealth, the gift of Dharma, and the gift of fearlessness. The wealth that one may give freely without characteristics includes material wealth, time, knowledge, and one's own body. Giving material wealth, including money, is fairly obvious. But giving one's time and knowledge are also ways of practicing the first paramita. So giving our time, giving our presence, giving our embodiment, in some cases giving our money without expectation. This practice of showing up and offering without expectation. Very, very powerful moral activity. For example, for a wealthy person, to give a little bit of money may be less meritorious than for a poor person to give a lot of their time and knowledge. And this idea of merit maybe is not super common for people from a Western background, but this idea of merit is that we can do good deeds. We can do things that bring benefit towards ourselves and to others. And when we do a lot of those good deeds, when we practice a lot of generosity, when we give our time and our energy to people quite a lot, we can consider that we are creating a store of merit. We are creating a store of well-being that will naturally come to fruition in our own lives. Whereas someone who is not doing good deeds, maybe doing a lot of unskillful deeds, unwholesome activity and behavior, they're going to have a lower store of merit. And there's going to be a lot less of that benefit coming into fruition. And this is particularly emphasized in Buddhist societies and in Buddhist practice, where one of the basic moral acts that Buddhist people do is generosity. So they donate money or time or energy, whatever it might be, to supporting the Sangha, to supporting the monks. And sometimes also to donating to nonprofits, charities, etc. Myanmar, for example, is one of the most generous countries in the world. It's a very, very natural practice to give, to donate, to support your time, your energy, whatever it might be, without expectation of getting something from the people you're supporting or donating to, because there's this idea of merit. But here, we're talking about giving, practicing generosity without characteristics, so without expectation. So let me read this again, now that we have maybe a little bit better idea of merit. Giving without characteristics means giving freely, without self-oriented motivation. It includes the gift of wealth, the gift of the Dharma, and the gift of fearlessness. The wealth that one may give freely without characteristics includes material wealth, time, knowledge, including speech, and one's own body. Giving material wealth, including money, is fairly obvious. But giving one's time and knowledge are also ways of practicing the first paramita, ways of wisdom, ways leading to the other shore, ways leading to peace. The first paramita, generosity. For example, for a wealthy person to give a little bit of money may be less meritorious than for a poor person to give a lot of their time and knowledge. Giving one's body includes one's strength and energy, but it also includes literally giving part of one's physical body, such as offering skin to burn victims or donating organs for transplant. You can be an organ donor while alive or after death. But when you are alive, you would want to consider carefully before donating any parts of your body. So that's kind of this material giving. We can give money. We can give time, energy. We can even give parts of our body in this practice of generosity. Giving without characteristics, the gift of the Dharma. People who think that the Dharma is something very mystical and abstract can become very confused about the idea of giving the Dharma. In fact, the Dharma is nothing other than the teachings of Buddhism. For example, the teaching on dependent origination is that all existence is a result of interdependency, interconnection, interrelatedness. Something exists because it is the product of other causes and conditions. And this something will in turn condition the arising and existence of other things. Nothing existing independently as a fixed self, but everything existing as a part of interconnectedness, interbeing. Everything is constantly under the influence of something else, and nothing truly exists independently. Hence, nothing is permanent. How do we relate this to our own lives? Here is a simple analogy. The reason why a woman is a wife is because she has a husband. If she does not have a husband, she is not a wife, and vice versa. Therefore, husband and wife are interdependent relative to each other. If you present this teaching to other people, then you are giving the Dharma. This idea also goes into a flower. We can see a flower as existing as a self, as a flower entity. But in fact, within that flower, the clouds, the sky, the earth, the soil, the rain, totally interconnected. As Thich Nhat Hanh would say, interbeing. You need not literally tell others about the theory of wives and husbands. You just need to communicate the idea of this thing being dependent on that, and vice versa. I am here speaking, sharing, teaching. You are watching me on YouTube. Together, we are interbeing. There is not one without the other. Totally interconnected. On very, very, very subtle levels, way more than we can understand intellectually. So you need not tell others about the theory of wives and husbands. You just need to communicate the idea of this thing being dependent on that and vice versa, or this ceasing to exist because of that, or the perishing of this causing the cessation of that. Simply by sharing your understanding of the Buddha's teachings, you are giving the Dharma. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said that one who understands dependent origination understands the Dharma. If one understands the Dharma, one also understands Buddhism. If a person correctly expounds this idea, this can be considered giving the Dharma. So sharing wisdom is a practice of generosity without characteristics. And the final practice here, the gift of fearlessness. People fear many things: death, poverty, illness, imprisonment, and so on. The gift of fearlessness is being able to respond to people's fears and needs with wisdom and compassion. As practitioners of the paramita of giving, we can alleviate people of their fears, whatever their origins. I'll read this one last time as a means of encouraging us to practice this generosity, this giving to others, the gift of fearlessness. People fear many things: death, poverty, illness, imprisonment, and so on. The gift of fearlessness is being able to respond to people's fears and needs with wisdom and compassion. As practitioners of the paramita of giving, we can alleviate people of their fears, whatever their origins. So, this reading is from a short text called the Six Paramitas, Perfections of the Bodhisattva Path by Chen Master Sheng Yen. Let's take a few moments to adjust our posture. We will get ready to practice meditation together. So find a comfortable position to sit in, to practice in. Allowing those teachings, those encouragements to set the tone of our mind. Finding a comfortable and suitable position for our body. Doesn't need to be a special meditation position, just get comfortable. And as we find that suitable, stable, somewhat comfortable position for our body, we can begin by bringing our attention onto the breath. That may mean something different for each of us. As you turn your attention onto the breathing, where do you notice it strongly? For some of us, we feel the breath very strongly in our stomach area, the rising and falling of the stomach. And for some of us, we may find that the breath is very alive, the feeling of breathing is very potent, as we feel the breath coming in through our nose. The feeling of the breath coming in and going out. in our meditation practice, putting aside for these few minutes any ideas of good or bad, of achieving something, anything, everything, putting it aside. Our meditation to just be here. Not perfectly here, not peacefully here necessarily, showing up wholeheartedly, being here, whatever that means, right now. And wherever it is that we feel the breath, the experience of the breath coming in and going out, wherever we feel that very strongly, taking that to be our anchor point. So when we get distracted, when we get caught up in thinking, in judgment, in a story, at that moment that we become aware that we've gotten distracted, we can return to our anchor point, that feeling of the breath coming in and going out. So whether we are new to meditation or whether we are quite experienced with it, as we invite the sound of the bell, together, let's turn our attention inward, practice mindfulness of breathing, beginning and ending with the sound of the bell. Noticing and being aware of any physical sensations that we have, that we get caught up in. Noticing and being aware of thoughts and stories and judgments. Whatever it is that's taking place for these few more minutes, rather than doing or getting involved, noticing and returning back to the breath. Each and every mindful breath that we take, that is our meditation. If we find that there is a particular pain or a particular thought that continues to come up very strongly, try simply being with that thought, being with that experience through breathing, taking care of whatever difficulty may be coming up as we practice meditation. Not shying away from embracing whatever experience comes up, but also not holding on to anything. Just continuing to practice breath by breath, being here now. So now, with this mind that is somewhat collected, somewhat gathered, centered, we can begin the practice of metta meditation. In metta, we cultivate, we bring up this energy of loving kindness, compassion towards ourselves. So you can join along with me in this practice of metta meditation by repeating after me, either internally or externally. And as we say these words, it's not so much the words themselves as it is the sincerity and the energy that we put into these words that really has the strong effect. So take a moment if you need to adjust your posture in any way so that you're comfortable. And as we get started, using our mind intentionally to bring about loving kindness, let's take a deep breath together. Repeating after me. May I be at peace with myself. May I be at peace with myself. May I be at peace with myself. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I share my happiness with others easily. May I share my happiness with others easily. May I be patient. May I be patient. May I feel safe. May I feel safe. May I be safe. So in bringing up this energy of metta, of loving kindness towards ourselves, if we're able to touch into that, to feel loving kindness towards ourselves, we can also do the practice of extending that outward. So if you feel you still need to direct loving kindness towards yourself, you can continue doing that. But if you feel ready, okay with sharing it, you can repeat after me. May people I don't know feel safe. May people I don't know be happy. May people that I love dearly be free from suffering. May people that I love dearly be free from suffering. May people that I love dearly be free from suffering. May people that I dislike be free from all suffering. May people that I dislike be free from all suffering. May people that I dislike be free from all suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. Now turning our attention, our practice of generating loving kindness towards ourselves, being with the breath and putting our heart and sincerity into these words, repeating after me. May I experience loving kindness. May I experience loving kindness. May the parts of myself that I dearly love experience loving kindness. May the parts of myself that I dearly love experience loving kindness. May the parts of myself that I am neutral about experience loving kindness. May the parts of myself that I'm neutral about experience loving kindness. May the parts of myself that I don't like experience loving kindness. May the aspects of myself that I do not like experience loving kindness. May all parts of myself that I do not like experience all-embracing, loving, tender kindness. May I be at peace with all aspects of myself. May I be at peace with all aspects of myself. May all beings be at peace with all aspects of themselves. So as we finish with our meditation practice, if you would like to join me in a bit of closing chanting, we will say the word sadhu 3 times. And this word sadhu has a meaning of well done, or a kind of gentle appreciation towards ourselves for participating in this activity, this meditation, taking care of ourselves in this way. So if you'd like to join in chanting, you're welcome, or you can just listen. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining in our group community meditation practice. I invite you to continue practicing meditation in your own life, and also when you have the time, when you have the opportunity to join this community in practicing meditation together, moving forward. All right? So deep bow of gratitude to everyone who participated and joined in our meditation. Just for anyone who doesn't know, we also have a Discord channel where we sometimes have community sessions where we discuss, or we have a group meditation in there where we can share our video with each other, things like that. So everyone's very welcome. And when we practice meditation in this way, we do it not only for ourselves, not only taking care of ourselves, but when we really sincerely wholeheartedly, wholesomely practice meditation in this way, we're doing it for the world as well, bringing benefit to ourselves and to the people we encounter. All right? So we'll finish our session now, and hopefully in the future we can practice together again. Thank you everyone so much for joining, and that'll be the end. Okay? Thank you so much.